Hi folks, I'm going through a Udemy course on many subjects, but one of them is CSS, and I've just come across this very important part of CSS, learning about CSS. That's the using relative units like percentages and EMs and REMs. And this is like a cheat sheet right here, and I'll just go through it briefly and then go through my own example code. So the percentages or the EMs, they can be one for the font size or for the length, and for the fonts and percentages, it's the percentage times the parent font size. For the length, interestingly, it's percentage times the parent width, not the font size. But I've discovered that this is not always true. In this case, the 10% is here. It works for padding, but if you try to do from here, maybe the height and then some percentage, this won't be percentage times the parent width, but percentage times the parent height. I've only discovered one use of this scenario, and so far it's the padding. And the EMs and REMs are font based, so in calculating the unit value, it always concerns the font size. So if it's the font, then it's the EM times the parent font size. But if it's the length, then it's the EM times the current element font size. Well, and also the REM is just REM times the root font size. What's interesting about this and very useful is that the EMs concern the font size. So for example, the length you want to set is in proportion to the current element font size, so it's very useful. Here I've just made a code pen to illustrate and to assure myself that it is indeed correct. So you got the parent, child, and the grandchild, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna test the percentage, EM and REM, and each of them, they have the scenarios for the setting the font size or the length. Right? The first one is the percentage, and it's for the font, setting the font size. If you set the parent font size as 1 REM, which is 16 pixels, so that's the default font size for the page, which is 16. That's the default. Then if you set font size to 150%, there will be 16 pixels times 1.5, so that's 24 pixels. I'll verify it each step I go that indeed the calculations come out correct. So we inspect the child, and here it should be 24 pixels. Indeed it is 24 pixels, so that is correct. Second, we test percentage for the length, which is percentage times the parent width. But as you can see, if we set the height to 200 pixels and we set 50%, it's actually not 250, but actually 100 because it's half of the parent's height. So I'll look at that as well. The height is 100 pixels. And lastly, this is the one that actually works on padding. If it's 1%, it's 1% of the parent's width. So that's 500 pixel times 0.01, which is 5 pixels. And you can see all the paddings are 5 pixels. So that is correct. Now testing the EM for the font size. That's the EM times the parent font size. So the child is the parent of the grandchild, and the font size is 24. Yeah, there you go. The child's font size came up to be 24. So the this is in relation to the parent font size. So it's 0.5 times 24, which is 12. So we'll check that out now. Font size is indeed 12. Yeah. And lastly, was test EM for the length. It's the EM time, not the parent font size, but the current font size. So whenever you want to specify any length in terms of EM, it's in relation to the current element font size, each font size itself. So we found out that the font size of the grandchild is 12. So it should be 12 pixels times the half, which is 6. So just all the paddings are 6, so that is correct. And that's about it. So this is area that I wasn't quite sure with, so I'm very delighted to progress some steps forward in understanding all about these relative units. Just ending, the VH and VW are just the units in relation to the screen size. This is horizontal. Sorry, this is a height, and that's a width. So if it's 100 VH or 100 VW, that's the whole of the view height and view width. If it's like 90, then it's 90% of the view. So like if it's 90 VW, then there will be the whole width and about 90%, so about here. That's about it, I think. Thank you very much for watching with me.